to this evening's Cabinet meeting in District Council. It is, exactly. Sorry? Yes, oh, it was on I must have a different cosmos.
It was quick, yeah?
Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. So I have apologies from Councillor Derbyshire and Councillor Sharp tonight. They and their families have fallen foul of you know what. Agenda item 2. So with permission of councillors, I'll take all of these items together to be seconded and voted on together. So,
Chair, I won't be able to agree the first minutes for January because I gave apologies for that meeting. So if you take them en bloc, I will have to abstain.
Very well. We'll do January separately and then the other two.
Okay.
So this is the minutes of the meetings. So I recommend that the public minutes of Cabinet 79-122 to Cabinet 88-122, the meeting of the Cabinet held on the 18th of January, 2022, will be confirmed and signed by me as a correct record of these proceedings. Councillor Robinson, and do we agree? Thank you. So public minutes CAB 89-22 to Cab 105-22 of the meeting of the Cabinet held on the 22nd of February 22, and private minutes Cabinet 104-22 of the meeting of the Cabinet held on the 22nd of February 22 be confirmed and signed by the Chairman as a correct record of those proceedings. So, second, Councillor Tonkin, thank you very much, and thank you. And then agenda item 3, declarations of interest. To receive declarations of the existence and nature of any private interests, both disclosed or pecuniary, and any other registrable interest in any matter to be considered or being considered. So, councillors, do you have any this evening? No, there are no declarations. Agenda item 4, questions and representations from the public. So to receive questions and representations from the public under Rule 3 and 4 of the Executive Procedure Rules of Constitution. We have received a question from Councillor Jonathan Davis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm here this evening asking this question on behalf of Clifton Community Council. I am the chair, so I am asking it as a councillor, just for the record. Given the local government reorganisation process is now confirmed and this council will cease to exist from April 2023, can the leader please confirm the council's intentions on the devolution of assets to communities that the council holds? The communities and parish councils have expressed a wish to take on through devolution. The example of such assets is the Play Park and associated land in Clifton that Clifton Community Council had been told would be devolved to the council over a year ago, only to be told it was all on hold while the council reviewed the policy on devolution of assets that the leader at the full council last year assured me will not be the case.
Thank you for your question. So the Overview and Scrutiny Committee recently carried out a review of the Council's policy on the devolution of assets. We are awaiting clarification from the Government through what is known as a Section 24 direction on what controls may be placed on financial decision making by the existing councils in advance of LGR, including the disposal of assets. Cabinet will consider the recommendations from Overview and Scrutiny Committee after this order has been received and understood. Thank you. So,
I do have a subsequent, I can use
Thank
this
you.
one, thank you. I mean, given that Clifton Community Council in particular, and other councils have been promised the devolution of happening of the assets. Even last year, we were reassured the order, section 24 direction, hasn't been issued yet, I understand, from government, so the council can still act. Will the council not look at securing these assets for communities that have been promised by devolving them or starting that process now before the order is issued, before the section 24 is issued?
Thank you very much for your question. I'll provide you with a written answer. Agenda item 5 is questions and representations from members, and there have been no questions from members tonight. Agenda item 6 is First Homes Policy Position Statement, and this is, as you see, jointly in portfolios of Housing and Health and the Leader, and given that Councillor Derbyshire is indisposed, I will present this report. So the report seeks Cabinet approval to adopt a policy position statement setting out how the Council will implement the government's First Homes initiative here in Eden. This First Homes initiative was published in May 2021. The policy set out in the report will put this national initiative in the context of our own local plan and its affordable housing policies. So first homes are a specific kind of discounted market sale housing and should be considered to meet the definition of affordable housing for planning purposes. Specifically, first homes are discounted market sale units which, A, must be discounted by a minimum of 30% against the market value, B, be sold to a person or persons meeting the first home's eligibility criteria, so notably that they are first-time buyers with an income below a certain threshold. And C, on their first sale, will have a restriction registered on the title at HM Land Registry to ensure this discount as a percentage of current market value, and certain other restrictions are passed on at each subsequent title transfer. And after the discount has been applied, the first sale must be at a price no higher than £250,000. First homes are the government's preferred discounted market tenure and should account for at least 25% of all affordable housing units delivered by developers through planning obligations. So at Eden District Council, we're taking the opportunity to adopt certain available options within the scheme to fit in with the needs of Eden and make it easier for local people to access the scheme. That includes increasing the standard discount from 30% to a bigger discount, 40% locally, which fits in with our other discounted sales and is based on the evidence we have on our own housing market. Also, we're proposing that the maximum sale price cap for a first home is set at 60% of the mean property price in Eden. This would make homes cheaper than is the maximum cap of £250,000. And again, we have the evidence to support this level is needed in Eden. We're also proposing to apply a local connection test, but we're not proposing that first homes in Eden are prioritised for key workers, as the evidence suggests this isn't necessary in Eden. So if we don't adopt the policy options as we've set them out, then the standard national planning policy guidance will be relied upon, and the adjustments to take into account local needs and circumstances will not apply. The details of the policy are set out in the position statement attached as Appendix 1. So I'd just like to make the recommendation. It's recommended that the First Homes Policy Position Statement is adopted by the Cabinet. So do I have any questions about this First Homes Position Policy Statement? Councillor Robinson.
As Thank you, Chairman. How quickly will this come into play within Eden?
As soon as we pass it, I don't
That's correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
Within 5 minutes, Councillor.
Excellent.
Subject to the usual
Calling.
of calling.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's
Yes. Any further questions? So it is quite detailed, and so if the press wants to talk about it in more detail, we can. So would anybody? Did I ask for a second there? Councillor Robb. Sorry, I lost. And do we want to enter any debate? In that case, we vote to approve this important policy. Thank you very much. Now, agenda item 7, which is the Appleby Conservation Area Appraisal and Management Plan. This is on page 21 it starts on page 21, and you'll see that it's in the leader's portfolio, so I will also introduce this. So the purpose is to seek cabinet support for the adoption of the character appraisal and management plan report for the Appleby Conservation Area. And the document is attached to the report. So it's a statutory requirement that we prepare and publish proposals for the preservation and enhancement of conservation areas, and that we consult on them before they are adopted. This conservation area appraisal and management plan supports, enhances and helps secure the long-term benefits from the investment in Appleby Town Centre of over £1.2 million through the Heritage Action Zone. Consultation on this plan has taken place with the Town Council and with the public. This has included informal discussions, a specialist workshop and a public consultation on the draft. This took place between the 11th of October and the 28th of November 2021. A review of the consultation responses is included in the report in section 5 on page 26, and the adjustments made as a result are set out in 5.6 on page 27. In addition to the Heritage Action Zone implementation, the management plan includes a proposed extension to the conservation area to include the streets of Penrith Street, Bellevue Road and Garth Heads Road, as shown in the plan on page 155. And protecting planning policies to support the conservation area are set out from page 160. So this is a lengthy, detailed, fascinating, often rather beautiful report. So I'd like to thank everyone for their expertise and diligence, especially the lead officer, Paula Sader. So I'd now like to make the recommendations, which is, it's recommended that 1, the Cabinet adopts the character appraisal and management plan report set out in Appendix A, and 2, the Cabinet delegates authority to the Assistant Director of Development to make minor amendments to correct factual errors or improve the clarity of the document prior to publication. Could I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Greenwood. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Greenwood.
Thank you, Chair. It's not so much a question as I'd just like to say something. As one of the members for Appleby, I would like to express my gratitude and heartfelt thanks to the Conservation Officer, Paula Sader, and Assistant Director of Planning and Economic Development, Fergus McMorrow, for all the work that has gone into producing this conservation area character and appraisal and management plan over the last 4 years. The residents and Town Council of Appleby are rightly proud of the town's heritage and traditions and care deeply about the maintenance and upkeep of the conservation areas, including the 2 scheduled monuments, 183 listed buildings and 1 registered park and garden. Following on from being placed on the Historic England at-risk register after Storm Desmond, it was a huge honour to be chosen for the first Heritage Action Zone in the North West, beating 10 other willing candidates. And I would concur with the words at page 25 that the investment and regeneration brought to the town have created a legacy that will encourage further investment and continued refurbishment of buildings in the future. The proposed extension to the conservation area to include Clifford Street, Pembroke Street and Bellevue Road will preserve the Victorian character and appearance of these streets. I hope that residents will welcome this move, seeing it as a positive contribution to the local character and distinctiveness of Appleby and to keeping it special. And I am very happy to support these recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Greenwell. Does anybody else have any questions? In that case, we have no debate. We have a seconder, so it would be report. Thank you very much. And then we have, moving on to agenda item 8, which is the configuration of waste and recycling collections, which is in the services portfolio, and so I'll hand over to Councillor Parker to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. The Council, through the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, has been examining the future of waste management since 2019. In July 2021, Council approved the extension of the existing contacts we have following their recommendation. Overview and Scrutiny were to move on to looking at the configuration of services, but this work has been overtaken by events. The future shape of waste and recycling collection services will be largely decided by the conclusion of the government's work on the National Resource and Waste Strategy. This will take the form of statutory guidance for the Environment Act 2021, setting out the range and frequency of materials that Council will be required to collect under law and those which will remain discretionary. This guidance is not now expected until 2023, and an informed decision on future waste policy cannot be made without it. Also, as we all know, local government reorganisation will be implemented in April 2023, and work is already underway planning for this change. The Shadow Authority for Western and Furness County will be established immediately after the election this May. The Shadow Authority will make decisions on future policy, including the shape of services for the new unitary authority. It is clear that the timeline for LGR means that the decision on the future configuration of waste and recycling collections in the Eden area will be made by the Shadow Authority for Westland and Furness, or even the new authority proper, depending on when the government releases the statutory guidance. Overview and Scrutiny Committee have considered this position, and I concur with their findings. Therefore, I am happy to recommend that Cabinet note the resolution of Overview and Scrutiny Committee and agree that a policy review into the configuration of waste and recycling collection is not undertaken.
Thank you, Councillor Tomkin. So Councillor Tomkin has made the recommendation. Do we have a second? Councillor Roger, do we have any questions? And I guess we don't want to have debate. Therefore, we will go to the vote to approve this. Thank you very much. So agenda item 9 is in District Council Community Fund recommendation. So Councillor Sharp is indisposed, so I'll deputise for her. So I'm not on the panel, so I'm afraid we won't have the expert view that Councillor Sharp can provide. So Eden District Council Community Fund is the Council's community grant scheme, established in 2013-14 to support and develop community initiatives within Eden District. A total of £110,399 was available for the community fund at the start of this financial year. The Eden District Council Community Fund Partnership Panel held a virtual meeting via Microsoft Teams on the 8th of February to assess 8 applicants against set criteria, which you can see in 3.6 on page 254, and made recommendations for the award of grants. The partnership was chaired by the community's portfolio holder and consisted of representatives from Action with Communities in Cumbria, Penrith Action for Community Transition, and individual community representatives. Of the 8 applications considered, 5 of the applications were recommended for funding for the full requested amount, 2 were recommended for part funding, and 1 was referred to the next funding round as the panel wanted more information from the applicant prior to committing to part funding the project. And so I'd like to thank Councillor Sharp, the officers and others for administering this successful but quite labour-intensive scheme. And I'd also like to thank the people of Eden for wanting to improve their communities, for having such great ideas and putting so much time and effort into realising them. So the recommendations for the grants you can see in Appendix A, and I imagine you have looked at them, and unless anybody wishes to go into them in detail, you can ask questions if you wish, and I make a recommendation. It's recommended that a grant from the Eden District Council Community Fund is agreed for 7 of the 8 projects set out in Appendix A to a total of £44,059.63. So could I have a second for that, Councillor Tompkins? Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? In that case, I assume there is no debate, and we will go to vote. Thank you very much. Now, agenda item 10 is any other items which the chairman decides are urgent. So I'd just like to ask our chief executive if he could just say a few words about we've been invited to a call with government tomorrow, and Mr. Foster will explain.
Thank you, Chair. So we've received a letter from the Secretary of State for Local Housing Communities outlining the government's proposals for the resettlement of Ukrainian refugees. So I think it's been sort of widely reported in the press today. So there is a commitment from the government, firstly, to work with local councils, and there will be a register of interest, as you will have seen, but there will also be a relationship with councils in particular in terms of future educational need is identified, and support needs for individuals. So the letter itself doesn't go into great detail. It does commit to working with local councils to make the programme work. So we have been this afternoon invited to a webinar at which government will outline, I think, in more detail what its proposals are and what our role will be. So we will engage in that webinar and we'll report further once we have more details.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Greenwood.
When is the, sorry, I missed that bit. When is the webinar?
It's at 2 p.m. tomorrow. If you'd like an invite, I can send it through to you.
Thank you, that would be good.
Thank you very much. And agenda item 11 is the date of the next scheduled meeting. Date of the next scheduled meeting of the Cabinet is confirmed as the 19th of April 2022. So thank you very much. That concludes this evening's Cabinet meeting.
Okay.